Welcome to the Robots vs. Vampires podcast. Ready for some unexpected good versus evil from the worlds of sci-fi and fantasy?
I am so ready.
You guys send in some truly fascinating excerpts, and we're pumped to dive in and see what makes them tick. We're going to try to unpack fact from delightful fiction.
Love it. Sounds fun.
Make sure you rate and follow the show for more awesome stories.
Yeah, definitely do that. So should we jump into our first story?
Let's do it. What have we got?
Reflections of Rebellion. And the core idea is just immediately gripping. A young woman feels like a total outsider her whole life, and then she literally steps through a mirror.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she finds herself facing not just like a revolution, but a tyrannical version of herself.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The story starts with this feeling of being on the fringes, right? That detail about watching the cheerleaders, seeing only a faint reflection of a girl she couldn't be.
Yeah, it really puts you right there with her.
Yeah, like the sense of always observing, but never truly being part of it. Why do you think that feeling of being an outsider is such a common starting point in these kinds of stories?
I think it's a really powerful archetype. That sense of not belonging. It gives you a different perspective, a unique perspective. You're kind of separate from the norms, the rules, whatever.
Right, like you're on the outside looking in.
Exactly. And maybe it's those people, the ones who are already apart, who can actually see the flaws in the system. The cracks, so to speak, the potential for change. Think about it. Someone already on the outside doesn't have as much to lose by rocking the boat, right?
That's a great point. I never thought about it like that. And then there's the catalyst, right? Detention for insubordination.
Yep. The little rebel right from the start.
I love that. And then, of course, she finds this bizarre mirror in the janitor's closet. Shimmering spires, inky sky.
Ooh, I love that image.
Yeah.
So vivid.
Yeah, it's just like, bam, you're in a different world now. What do you think that kind of portal means in these stories? Like this unexpected door to somewhere else?
Well, I think portals often represent a transition, not just like physically moving from one place to another, but in the protagonist's whole journey. It's a point of no return, a step into like the great unknown that forces them to change, to evolve.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
And this particular portal, it's a mirror reflecting a distorted reality, right?
Yeah.
So it tells us immediately that this world she's going into isn't just different. It's like a twisted version of her own. It makes you think about like what's real and what's not.
Yeah, definitely plays with your sense of identity. And then she steps into this mirrored world and it's just...
Creepy.
Yeah, creepy. It's described as deathly silent, perfect, and sterile. And that contrast to her own world, her messy reality, is so striking.
Like night and day.
Totally. And right away, she's captured by this armored figure with this teeny rasp of a voice.
Yeah, it's unsettling.
Super unsettling. What does that immediate capture do for the story, do you think?
I think it immediately puts her in a vulnerable position. It shows just how oppressive this mirrored world is, how controlling. You have the sterility, the silence, and it all points to this lack of individuality, right? Like everyone has to conform. And her capture reinforces that idea. She's an anomaly. She doesn't fit into this rigid structure. And that sets up the main conflict between her and the ruler of this world.
And the king, right.
Yes, the king. And
Oh, yeah, and we finally meet the king, this cruel double sitting on a throne of, get this, twisted reflections, shards of ice for eyes, a smile like a razor's edge.
so menacing, right?
And he calls her the prodigy, like her arrival was predicted, part of some big plan. That feels like that classic chosen one trope we see everywhere, but something feels off, right?
Oh, totally. It sets up an expectation with the whole prophecy thing, but then the story flips it on its head. Instead of some great destiny, she's just a pawn in the king's game, a tool for his dimension-conquering ambitions. Yeah, it immediately paints him as a manipulator and makes you wonder if this prophecy is just something he made up to get what he wants. Makes you think, like, what about in our own lives? What prophecies are we buying into that are maybe just someone else's agenda?
Ooh, that's deep. It's like the story is messing with our expectations of these classic epic narratives. And then her first escape attempt, she smashes a mirror.
Classic.
I know, right?
No.
It's like an instinct, that desire to just break free from this weird reality. But of course, it fails miserably. What do you think that failure teaches her? And us as readers?
It shows that she doesn't get this mirrored world yet. She doesn't understand how it works or how she's connected to it. It's not enough to just destroy the reflection. You got to deal with the root of the problem. It forces her to slow down, observe, and really understand the nature of the prison she's in. And I mean that both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, it's like she needs to figure out the rules of the game before she can win. And It's while she's stuck in that cell, thinking about her mom's worried frown and the boringness of detention, that she has this like epiphany. She realizes this world hates flaws, hates messiness. Everything has to be perfect.
That feels like such a turning point in the story.
Huge turning point. How does her understanding of her own imperfections, the things she sees as flaws, become a source of strength?
It's amazing, right? Because
Yeah.
she realizes that the very qualities that make her an outsider in her own world, those are the things this mirrored world can't handle. Her messy reality, it becomes a weapon against their enforced order. And it's so powerful because it's like the story is telling us to embrace our true selves, even the parts we don't always like, to own our messiness, our imperfections.
I love that. So that brings us to her second escape attempt, which isn't really about escaping at all. It's this tiny act of defiance, almost insignificant. She spits at the king's reflection.
Yeah.
But the reaction is insane. Cracks spread across the mirrored throne. It's like her internal rebellion, her anger, is literally affecting the physical world. What do you make of that cracking throne?
It's so symbolic. The throne represents the king's power. And it's all built on this foundation of perfect reflections, illusions, smoke, and mirrors. And her little act of defiance, powered by her understanding of her own messy reality, it's like a crack in that foundation. It shows that a system built on suppressing imperfection, it's inherently fragile. It's a visual representation of how even small acts of resistance can destabilize something that seems so powerful, so unbreakable.
So powerful, and it doesn't stop there. As the glass shatters, it has this domino effect, not just on the throne, but on the guards too. Their mirrored masks and uniforms, they just flake away, revealing...
Well, people.
Yeah, just ordinary faces, streaked with tears. It's like the illusion that was keeping them in check, keeping them obedient. It all breaks down.
It's a powerful image. The mirrored facade, it wasn't just about the king's power, right? It was a way to control everyone, to hide their individuality, suppress their emotions. So when the mirrors shatter, it's a collective awakening. Everyone sees each other, really sees each other, for the first time. Their shared humanity, their pain. Makes you think about the masks we wear, both literally and figuratively. The things we hide from each other, even from ourselves.
So true. So the king attacks, right. But now he's not this terrifying reflection anymore, just a scared, lonely tyrant.
It's like he's lost his power.
Right. And our protagonist realizes she doesn't need a mirror to fight back anymore. Her strength comes from her own messy, real-world experiences.
That's the heart of the story right there.
Isn't it? Finding power in being yourself, in all your messy glory.
Yeah. The mirror, which at first seemed like the source of the king's power, the thing that separated the worlds, it all becomes irrelevant. Her strength comes from within, from her resilience, from all the things that make her different. It's a reminder that true power comes from owning who you are, embracing your unique journey.
I love that. So the rebels show up. They offer her a place in their fight.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They want her on their side.
Of course. But there's suspicion at first, which is understandable. And the story really highlights how she earns their trust. Not through some big heroic act, but through being herself.
Yeah, through her clumsy, stubborn, messy actions.
Right. So cool. It's like this total rejection of the typical hero narrative. She's not some perfectly polished warrior or a chosen one fulfilling a prophecy.
Whoa.
Her strength is in her realness, her willingness to be imperfect.
And that's what resonates with the rebels. They see themselves in her. It shows that true solidarity, that revolutionary spirit, comes from shared vulnerability, from authentic action, not from some flawless, unattainable ideal.
It's about connection, right? Real connection. And the revolution itself, it's not this big explosive battle. It's 1,000 tiny acts of defiance, like people's reflections just shimmering and falling away. And the palace guards, they become this fractured force, facing their own humanity, their own flaws. It feels so much more real, so much more believable than some huge epic battle.
I agree. It's a much more organic way to portray a revelation.
Yeah.
Like a gradual erosion of control. It's not about one big event. It's about changing hearts and minds one person at a time. And the focus on individual acts of defiance, it shows how powerful collective action can be. Real change often starts small, with a bunch of small acts of resistance that eventually build up to something bigger.
It's about planting seeds.
Yes.
Okay, so the king's downfall, that's interesting too. He's not killed, right? He's just stripped of his power. His illusions are shattered, and that's it. He's just powerless.
Yeah, it reinforces this idea that his whole tyranny was based on appearances, on this facade.
So fragile. Makes you think about power, about how so much of it is based on perception, on what people believe.
Right. And what happens when those beliefs are challenged, when the illusion is broken? The power can just disappear. It makes you question where authority really comes from, you know? Is it real or is it just a carefully constructed image?
Wow, I love that. So she's faced with a choice, right? Stay in the mirrored world, be a hero, or go home.
Big choice.
Huge. And she looks in the scavenged mirror and sees not this fearless warrior, but a girl with chipped nail polish and a whole lot of determination. That moment of recognition is so powerful. Why do you think she chooses to go back to her own world?
Because her journey, everything she's experienced has changed her. It's changed how she sees herself in her own world. She realizes that being a hero isn't limited to these fantastical realms. She can take that spirit of defiance, that fire in her belly, back home with her. She can face the everyday mirrors she encounters with that same strength.
It's about realizing that her own world, her own life, is where her true power lies. I love that. And then she's back in the janitor's closet, right back where she started, and the vice principal is just like totally confused.
Yeah.
It's such a funny contrast to everything she's just been through. But that last thought about bringing that defiance home, seeing flickers of rebellion in everyday life, it stays with you. It's like she's learned that even small acts of resistance can make a difference.
It takes the story beyond this fantastical adventure and applies it to our lives.
Yeah.
It encourages us to look for those moments where we can push back against the things that feel wrong, to remember that even small acts of courage can be powerful.
Right. It's about finding those opportunities to stand up for what we believe in, even in the most ordinary situations.
Exactly.
And you know, it really makes you think about all the mirrors we face, right? The societal pressures, the expectations, the things that try to force us into a mold, and how finding strength in our imperfections, in being ourselves, can be a revolutionary act in itself.
A quiet revolution.
Totally. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and dive into our second story. This one's got a completely different vibe.
Hit me with it.
Windwrath. It's about a girl who discovers she's not just connected to nature, she is nature.
Ooh, I love those kind of stories.
So Windwrath starts with this different kind of protagonist. Instead of feeling like an outsider in relation to other people, she feels this crazy, intense connection to something she's scared of. Storms. She describes feeling the wind in my bones, like the world was screaming itself raw.
Ooh, that imagery is so powerful, so visceral.
Right. It establishes this deep, like primal link between her and the natural world.
So what does it mean when a character's inner state is so tied to natural phenomena? I think it often points to a hidden potential, like this deep connection to the world around them that they don't understand yet. It can also be a symbol of inner turmoil, or this powerful force that's just waiting to be unleashed. And in her case, she's scared of storms.
Right.
So you have this interesting internal conflict, right? She's drawn to it, but terrified at the same time.
It's like this push and pull, this attraction and repulsion.
Exactly. It's a power that's both alluring and terrifying. Something she instinctively knows is a part of her, but she hasn't learned to control it or even accept it yet. And her mom just calls her dramatic, which, you know, is kind of a typical parental response to a teenager's big feelings. But in this case, it masks a deeper truth, right?
Totally. There's something more going on there. Okay, so now we come to the big turning point, the reveal of her powers. She's on an 8th grade field trip, on an observation deck during a squall, and then bam, lightning strike, and the wind just obeys her. It forms a shield around her.
Talk about a dramatic reveal.
I know. It's such a great scene. What's the significance of her powers manifesting in such a public, dramatic way?
Well, it's confirmation. For her and for everyone else.
Yeah.
It proves beyond a doubt that she's not just a normal girl. And her classmates' awe, it reinforces how extraordinary this event is. It shatters any lingering doubts about her connection to the wind. And it acts as a catalyst, right? It attracts the attention of the people who understand what it all means.
Right. Enter the cloaked figures.
Uh-huh.
Love it. All these pronouncements about elemental lineages, sylphs, the Zephyr throne.
So cool.
It's like we've been transported to a whole new level of fantasy. And her mother, she tries to deny it all at first, but then there's a tornado, like a full-on tornado. It's pretty hard to argue with that kind of evidence, right? What does that initial resistance from her mom add to the story, do you think?
Well, I think it grounds the story a bit. It reminds us that even in a world with magic and elemental powers, people are still people. Even those closest to us might not understand our potential, or they might try to protect us from something they don't get.
Yeah, it makes it feel more real.
Right. And the tornado, it's like this undeniable force. It literally and figuratively sweeps away all the doubts and forces the protagonist to face her true self.
It's like the universe is saying, listen up, this is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No more denying it.
So we're introduced to the Zephyr Kingdom. It's on top of this cloud-reeled mountain. Very majestic. But then Queen Thea, she's skeptical of our protagonist, almost like she's testing her. And then there's this air attunement class, which sounds super boring. It's all about forced meditation in a tower room. And of course, our protagonist rebels. She blasts music.
That's our girl.
It instantly shows that she's not gonna be some obedient little princess. Her resistance to all the traditional methods of learning and control, it shows how independent she is. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, her power needs a different approach.
Yeah, maybe the old ways don't work for her. It sets up this great conflict between tradition and her own unique way of doing things.
Right, like a clash of styles. Okay, then things take a turn. There's this surprise attack by these Ember Knights. They feed on air, and they have this freezing touch.
They sound terrifying.
They do. And the Zephyr heirs, all trained in the traditional ways, they get defeated super quickly. It highlights this important point, right? That the old ways of fighting, they might not be enough anymore.
Yeah. The Ember Knights are a new kind of threat, a threat that no one was prepared for. And that creates space for the protagonist's unique, untamed power to come into play. It's like the story is saying that it's often when we're faced with these totally unexpected challenges that our true strengths emerge, the things that make us different.
It's about adapting, right? Finding new solutions. And that's what she does. She goes from panic to this deep, profound connection with the wind. It's like the world is singing in her veins, and she's filled with this raw fury. And it's not just the wind obeying her commands anymore. It's like she's become a part of it.
Yeah, like they're one and the same.
Right. So what do you think that merging with her power signifies?
I think it represents her finally accepting who she truly is, unleashing her full potential. The fear she felt about the storm, it's replaced by this feeling of power, of connection. It's like the story's saying that sometimes the things we're most afraid of are actually connected to our greatest strengths.
I love that.
It's about accepting all parts of ourselves, even the ones that scare us, and finding a way to make them work for us.
So true. So she descends from the tower like a tornado with a bad attitude.
That's a fantastic image.
I know, you can just see it, right? And her first punch sends one of the Ember Knights flying. It's not about elegant magic or fancy techniques. It's just pure, raw power.
That's visceral. It's like the raw energy of the storm itself is flowing through her. It shows the difference between learned skills and inherent power, and how sometimes the raw, untamed power can be even more potent, especially when it's fueled by passion and conviction.
It's like the difference between learning martial arts and just unleashing a primal scream.
Exactly.
And the Queen Thea, her reaction is so important. She doesn't get mad about this chaotic display of power. She's proud. There's this terrifying flicker of pride in her eyes. What do you think that means?
It's like she recognizes that sometimes you need unconventional, even dangerous power to get things done. It challenges our traditional ideas of what a leader should be, you know. It asks us if true leadership means embracing the unconventional, the unexpected, even the things that make us a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, like sometimes you got to break the mold to win the day.
Exactly.
And that's the realization everyone has.
Right.
This war isn't going to be won with formations and traditional tactics. It's going to be won with raw fury, with this girl who can become the storm. It's a complete shift in perspective.
It's about embracing the unexpected, recognizing strengths that might have been seen as weaknesses before.
Right. And the training she goes through, it's brutal. Bruises, broken spars, all of it. It highlights this new approach, right? They're not trying to fit her into a box. They're teaching her to control and unleash the storm within her, and to do it without apology.
Yeah, they're channeling her power, not suppressing it. It's about embracing every part of who she is.
And it all leads up to this incredible transformation. She becomes the bringer of the righteous storm, standing on the ramparts with the wind as her cloak. She's not just a princess anymore. She's a force of nature.
She's become who she was always meant to be. The wind, which used to scare her, is now her ally. It's a symbol of her power, of her strength.
So powerful. So thinking about both of these amazing stories, what's the biggest contrast between them? What jumps out at you?
I think Reflections of Rebellion is about finding strength in embracing your imperfections, in being different, while Windwrath is about embracing a power that scares you, a power that's a part of you whether you like it or not.
That's a really cool way to look at it. One is about fighting against external pressures, and the other is about conquering your own internal fears.
Right.
They both deal with finding strength in unexpected places, and that brings us back to our own lives, doesn't it? What kind of mirrors do we face in our own lives that try to force us into being someone we're not? And what storms within us are we maybe too afraid to unleash, even though they hold incredible power?
These stories challenge us to think about those things. The pressures to conform, the fear of our own potential. It's a reminder that true strength lies in being authentically ourselves, flaws and all, and learning to harness the powerful forces within us, even if they feel a little wild.
Absolutely. So we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into these imaginative tales.
We had a blast.
What resonated with you the most?
What did you guys think about mirrored worlds and elemental awakenings?
Let us know.
And as you go about your day, remember, sometimes the greatest strength comes from embracing the messy, chaotic, beautiful landscapes of our inner worlds.
Don't be afraid to unleash your inner storm.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the Robots vs. Vampires podcast.
We'll see you next time for more epic stories.
Make sure to rate and follow the show for more awesome stories.
Don't forget.
Until next time.